Hey there, fellow stargazers. It's so good to be back in the studio. I know I've been away for a few weeks, but you've been in good hands. So welcome to Sister Stargazers, your half-hour show dedicated to looking at the astrology of the upcoming week. And this week we've got, I'm gonna harken back to the eclipse time in September, and then take a look at the chart with Venus and the moon featured prominently. So stay tuned. Welcome to autumn, everyone. It's we're well into the season now, and we have on tap this week some ingresses. So Venus changes sign, which is a kind of a beauty. It's a beauty. She represents our resources and what we love and all things beautiful. And she's entering into Libra, which is her home domicile. And when she gets there, she's right at the cusp today. She's at 29 degrees Virgo, which, if you remember, way back just a few weeks ago, we had that new moon autumnal equinox on the 22nd of September. It was a south node partial solar eclipse at 29 degrees 5 minutes of Virgo. And now Venus is coming into that position where the sun was. So at the very end of, the sun was at the very end of Virgo. Why is that important? Because it was activating 2, 3, kind of a grouping of planets over in Pisces. So you had, at that time, you had Neptune in Aries. Well, Neptune is still in Aries, but it's retrograding. It's going to be going back into Pisces. And you had Saturn just a few minutes, just a few degrees away in Pisces. And that's an ongoing, I've talked about that a lot. Saturn, reality, Neptune, dreams, what is real, what is fantasy, right? That's kind of sifting out on the world stage right now. And we have that little grouping there hovering at the 0 degrees Aries point, within a few degrees of that initiatory point. We have now Venus moving into the spot where the sun was at the point of the equinox. So we have this and the moon. We had this new moon equinox, autumnal equinox, partial solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. And you might look back to the late September, so that would be, close to 3 weeks ago now, and see if something around that time was percolating, or there were inklings of a new start, a new beginning, which would also have involved the ending of something. So this is part of this South Node partial solar eclipse, is that something begins and something ends. So we have that kind of ringing like a bell in the background. And as planets come through that particular spot, 29 degrees Virgo or 0 degrees Libra, it's so close, right? It's so close. So as planets come through that spot, the sun went through it during the equinox, we have this activation of the polarized planets over in Virgo, over in Aries and Pisces. Now, what's also really interesting about those guys over in Pisces / Aries, Pisces, so Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Pisces, making that opposition to Venus. So what does that mean? It's we're looking at the things that we value, and we're wondering if they still matter. And we're wondering if the dreams that we had envisioned, that we held as beautiful dreams at one time, are still valid. We're wondering if we can make them real. We're wondering if they're worth pursuing. And there's a lot of like major questions, life questions being called up now as that planet, Venus, moves into opposition with Neptune and Saturn right across 180 degrees. This is going to be in play this week because Venus is active. Why? Because she makes a conjunction with the moon, or actually the moon makes a conjunction with Venus later in the week. So that's kind of big picture stuff. The other thing that's happening, which is another big picture item, is that Pluto is stationing direct today, the 13th of October. And I've got a bit of news that I want to share with you, just to have you thinking about how Pluto might be affecting your life. So Pluto, whenever it shows up, I mean, it's always there, but whenever it highlights a point in your chart, or it makes an aspect to another planet that might be affecting you personally, it always brings up, its job basically is to bring up the shadow material or the things that aren't seen. So Pluto is the ruler of Hades, right? The underworld. And often you see him depicted in the chart, in the some of the ancient illustrations I'm saying ancient, I'm going back, like the Renaissance and post-Renaissance time where you might have an illustration of a planet as a person. So in some of the astrological texts, you might see Pluto kind of hanging out on a rock with a gaping hole in the earth opened before him. And there's, gases coming out of that crevice. And sometimes it's depicted with a daffodil, which represents Persephone, which, of course, he pursued. That's another story. But this whole idea of Pluto opening up the underworld, right? Being lord of the underworld, and mostly he's invisible. His work is invisible. So, just to give you an idea of the time that we've been working through with Pluto. So Pluto first entered Aquarius, so it was in Capricorn all through the pandemic, very end of Capricorn, and we all know what that was about, the authority, kind of the Capricornian authority kind of coming into prominence. But as Pluto entered Aquarius back in March of 2023, it made it up to 0 degrees Aquarius to 21 minutes by May of 2023, and then it retrograded back into Capricorn. So it just kind of stuck its toe in to this new place, Pluto did. And then it was back in Capricorn. And then it moved forward and ingressed into Aquarius again on January 20th, 2024. And it made it up as far as 2 degrees Aquarius. So it got to 0 degrees the first time. Now it's got up to 2 degrees Aquarius the second time. And then it backtracked into Capricorn. So then on November 19th, 2024, just last year, Pluto entered Aquarius to stay. And by May of 2025, Pluto had reached 3 degrees Aquarius and had retrograded back to 1 degree Aquarius. By May of 2026, Pluto goes as far as 5 degrees Aquarius and then only backtracks back to 3. So we are firmly now, this ingress on October 13th, stationing forward, stationing direct. Pluto now is in Aquarius for good. It's never going back in our lifetime. It takes 249 some odd years for Pluto to make one revolution around the sun. So this station direct is the first time it's going to be staying in Aquarius, not backtracking into Capricorn. So you might look back to when Pluto first entered Aquarius on late March 2023, and then you might take stock of where you are now and just notice if there are any large changes that might have come forward for you between these 2.5 years. And that's Pluto's work, is to highlight what isn't working. Maybe it brought you a new work situation. Maybe it brought you to a new home. It could have brought you into a different state of health. It could have manifested as something going on in your family or with your children. So Pluto, its job is to bring up the shadow material, the things, the circumstances that we don't want to look at. So you might look to where Aquarius is in your chart and really see how that particular house that Pluto is moving through, how things might have shifted in terms of the experiences that house rules. So just a little bit about Pluto. It's now in Aquarius for good. What else is happening this week? We've got this Venus moving into Libra. As she moves into Libra, she's at 0 degrees Libra. Pluto's at 1 degree of Aquarius. And Uranus is over on the other side of the chart in Gemini at 0 degrees. They are making an air trine. An air trine can sometimes feel like a whirlwind. So buckle up. We're talking about Venus in her home sign. So this can have to do with lawsuits, Libra, balance, what is right, what is fair. It can have to do with a new aesthetic, coming into a new understanding of what you value, and making these trines to Pluto and to Uranus. There might be an unexpected benefit of some kind by changing your mind. So Uranus is in the sign of mind. It's in the sign of Gemini. It's about reevaluating your thoughts, your beliefs. Venus is in Libra, coming into a new understanding of balance, maybe in relationship. That's also a Libra-ruled experience, is relationship. The shadow side of this particular trine is people-pleasing and manipulation and chaos, basically. So you want to watch out for those kinds of things, either that you do or that you are the recipient of. So you just want to make sure that as you move forward this week, and this is in play for pretty much the whole week, because the moon will come through and activate this again, this air trine. So just be aware of unexpected behaviors, especially in matters concerning Gemini, like traffic, commerce, communication. There might be a need for balance and bringing in a bit of beauty or compassion to a situation. And there might be the exposure of of things that are that may not be for your best interest, that might be wanting to be, that might be advertised as being good, but then, really when you drill down and look at it, it's not so good. So just noticing when things seem to be too good to be true, that's another factor of this air trine. The other thing that this does is, because Uranus in Gemini is making a trine to Pluto and then a sextile to Saturn and Neptune over in Aries and late Pisces, we might be trying to figure out, for our own purposes, where we place our value, what is of importance, what is truly of importance to us, and what can be released, what can be let go. It's really a good thing right now to lighten your load. So if you're struggling under feeling like you're reaching capacity, or that you're at capacity, you want to honor that, because it's easy to feel the imbalance of everything while Venus is crossing into and is on that 0 degree point of Libra. You really will feel in a visceral way the imbalances around you and within you, and that you have only so much to give. That's the other piece of this. Let's see, what else can we say? Yes, and I want to honor, before I leave, I want to honor that this is Indigenous Peoples Day, and I want to honor the ancestors and the indigenous folks of this land, who were the original caretakers of this part of the earth, which was called Turtle Island. And did you know, I found out this week, the Wishcamper campus here at the University of Southern Maine, the new campus is built on an ancient meeting place of the tribes of the Wabanaki, as they were defending their territory. So this would have been the late 1600s, early 1700s. So the actual campus, the Wishcamper building, is built on a meeting place of the tribes as they regrouped after a battle. The entire back cove and Deering Park, which we now know as Deering Park in Portland, was also an ancestral gathering place for fishing and seasonal meetings. So and you might, as you travel around Portland, you might notice different names of places like Kapisic and Casco and Akosisco, which are all Wabanaki place names, which were based on what they saw, what they felt, what they noticed at these particular places. So the language is connected to the land, and the people are connected to the land through the language. It's a beautiful way to look at things. It's a very different way of looking at things. So I just wanted to honor Indigenous Peoples Day by just noting that. As we continue looking at the chart, so Monday the 13th, the moon is in Cancer and Venus moves into Libra, which we talked about, and it makes that opposition to Neptune and to Saturn. So we're questioning what we value. On Tuesday, Venus makes that trine to Pluto, and then Pluto trines to Uranus, and then Uranus makes that trine back to Venus. So surprising changes or possible offerings, different types of ideas might be present. There might be some really surprises, like you can't quite believe that, that you're hearing this. That's also in play all week. So it's not out of the question that it may not happen exactly on Tuesday, but it's kind of rolling out. On Wednesday, the moon is going to make a square to Mercury and a square to Mars. And I wanted to talk about this because Mercury is riding with Mars in Scorpio, and they will be perfecting next Monday, the 21st, next Tuesday, the 21st, next Tuesday, the 21st. That's right. So Mars and Mercury together, watch your words. Just put that on a Post-it and stick it on your mirror in the morning when you brush your teeth. This is a big deal, and this is in play right now. Mercury and Mars are only 5 degrees apart. They're in Scorpio. Scorpio can be really, forensic and kind of stingy, with its words. Mars rules Scorpio. Mercury gives Mars almost a permission to just go off on something that may not be the most tactful thing to say. So really, really watch that. Watch what you're thinking. Be aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling, and then how you express those things, because words are powerful. Words have consequences. And yes, there is a trine between Mars and Nessus right now in the North Node, so you can break things with your words, or you can build things with your words. This is really a very important transit of Mercury and a conjunction to Mars. So just be aware. And that conjunction is activated by the moon moving in a square into Leo. So the moon will move into Leo on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday it will square Mercury and Mars. So even being more upset about something or more indignant about something, because moon in Leo is like, I'm going to get on my soapbox and say it like it is. Moon in Leo is already demonstrative and outspoken. But when you get that square from the moon in Leo, activating that conjunction of Mercury and Mars in Scorpio, you get like a real activation of some biting and fighting words. So just be careful. On Thursday, the moon moves into Virgo, where it likes to make a plan and tidy things up. So it's great if that was all it did in Virgo, but it makes a square to Uranus up in Gemini. So Uranus in Gemini is also about speaking and being, your beliefs and how you might be changing your ideas about things or coming into new ideas about things. And just as a side, I'm just going to mention that there's an excellent Joe Rogan interview with Greg Braden that just came out a few days ago, which is just remarkable for its insight and for its discussion of different topics. And Greg Braden is so on point. If you don't know him, you might want to look him up. And of course, Joe Rogan. So it's a 3-hour interview, and well worth your time, even if you take it in little bites, like I did, because you want to sit with some of the things that are said, right? So anyway, an excellent video, an excellent podcast for this week to offer some new ideas and some possible changing of thought. But when the moon moves into Virgo, we're on Thursday now, and makes that square to Uranus, you might be feeling like, how can I reconcile all this? How can this all be reconciled? What's the plan of action? How could this work out? And then the moon also makes a quincunx to Pluto So that means that, whatever is brought forward or whatever you're worrying about you need to adjust your thinking on it. On Friday, the sun makes a square to Jupiter. So, and Jupiter is in Cancer, the sun is in Libra, and it's a matter of kind of containing your optimism. So this is most of the aspects to Jupiter are well-intentioned. They offer expansion. But the square, you just don't want to be too braggy, like you don't want to just go off on something. It does offer the chance for confidence and optimism, but you want to contain it. And then on Sunday, the moon moves into Libra and makes that conjunction with Venus. And then that also activates that opposition to Neptune, Saturn. So again, the moon with Venus. So the moon is our feelings. Venus is our resources. What we love, is what we love. Are we doing what we love? Are we feeling what we love? How can we make what we love in the world more real? And at the same time, it's making that trine. The moon is making that trine to Uranus and that trine to Pluto. So the moon might be activating ideas about how to make things real, how to dream up, dream bigger, dream in a way that offers you the opportunity for the world you really want. There's one more aspect I want to just kind of talk about, and that is this conjunction that was perfected this week between Eris and Chiron in Aries. And that's holding. It's waning now, but it was approaching and it was perfecting. It made its exact conjunction last week. And this can be about leaning into the things that are real for you. So this kind of takes on the same type of conversation, but on a more personal level. So Aries is I am. Look for Aries in your chart and feel into that house of experience. And there might be an opportunity there to clear old issues that will help you to bring forward the things that you really want to do. Because this Chiron placement with Aries is stirring up. It's stirring up. You can't keep things kind of under wraps anymore. This is about really looking at the stuff that's upsetting and clearing it. That's it for me for this week. I hope this has been helpful. There are lots of ways to work with this energy. So breath is a really good one. Taking a deep breath, letting the out breath be longer than the in breath, and just noticing in your environment, just really noticing how you feel and acknowledging how you feel. So I will leave you there. Check out the Facebook page I'll have the chart there, and you can ask questions. And wishing you a great week ahead. Take care, and bye for now.